We're going to talk about the principle of cooperation because your ability to get along with others will determine your success in life more than any other single factor. Some years ago, the Carnegie Institute of Technology analyzed 10,000 employees who were let go from their positions over a period of 7 years. They found that 95% of the people who were let go from their companies were let go because of their inability to work well with others. 85% of all the problems you will ever have in life will involve other people. The very best way is to practice the golden rule: to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Practice the law of sowing and reaping. If you want people to be cooperative with you, you must be cooperative with them. Treat everyone with courtesy, kindness, and patience. Remember, every person you meet is carrying a heavy load. If you practice self-discipline and have a clear sense of purpose, if you are good at what you do and accept complete responsibility for your actions, if you strive to serve others with what they want and concentrate on your highest payoff activities, you will tend to be a positive, self-confident individual, and you will have no trouble getting along. Your power in business, industry, or politics will always be determined by who you can call upon for help and assistance. You build your power base by seeking out every opportunity to assist others with no immediate expectation of return. Of course, this strategy presupposes that you are excellent at what you do, as you can only build power within an organization of value to the degree to which you are excellent at what you do. If you attempt to build a power base to compensate for a lack of excellence, what will happen is that it will just be perceived as cheap politics, and it will seldom work out. You will always do better with a plan than without. So prepare, prepare, prepare. The power is always on the side of the person with the most knowledge and the best notes and the most thorough preparation. In interacting with others, a key to cooperative relationships is to be a good listener. And here are some keys to effective listening. By the way, most people are very poor at listening. And if you become just a little bit better, you'll be amazed at the difference it will make in your interactions with others. Listen without thinking at the same time of what you're going to say. As soon as a speaker takes a breath, listen quietly, patiently, and calmly without interrupting or attempting to interrupt. If you allow 3 to 5 seconds to pass before you respond, you will be conveying to the other person very clearly that you are carefully considering the other person's remarks and you are avoiding the risk of interrupting. One other advantage to pausing is that psychologists tell us that you hear better when you pause before replying, because the words that the other person has said soak in, if you like, and you get a better understanding of what the other individual actually means. Feed it back in your own words to make it clear to the other that you fully understand and you've been listening carefully. Remember, in conversation, the person who asks questions has control. All open-ended questions cannot be answered by yes or no. Examples are what, where, when, who, why, and how. These are all questions that encourage the person to expand on the subject. In building cooperative relationships, practice the law of indirect effort. The law of indirect effort says that in our relationships with others, we almost invariably get what we want more rapidly by indirect means rather than by direct means. There is nothing that will so impress another than for you to be impressed by them, because then the other person will become very interested in who you are and will respect your judgment and your discernment. Another example of the law of indirect effort is if you want others to be interested in you, be interested in them. If you want others to like you, like them. If you want other people to respect you, then respect them. If you want others to believe in you, believe in them. If you want to have a friend, be a friend. The law of indirect effort is the key to effective relationships with other people. Now, here is an extension. Here are some of the keys to cooperative human relations. And they all start with, the first is acceptance. Acceptance means accepting the other person unconditionally for exactly who they are, without judgment and without reservation. Acceptance or rejection is something that takes place with every interaction, and we are attuned from childhood to be very alert to whether or not we are accepted or rejected by others in social interaction. And the finest and simplest way to express acceptance of others in a conversation is simply to smile. Whenever we smile at another person, it not only puts them at ease and raises their self-esteem, but when you smile, it releases endorphins in the brain and gives you a feeling of well-esteem in your children to say thank you to them for everything they do for you. And one of the best things that you can do to build a happy home is to say thank you to your spouse for everything they do, small or large, around the house. Another key to cooperative human relations is approval and praise, which is to acknowledge and recognize when people do things and when they do things well. Some of the keys to approval and giving approval are, first of all, be sincere. Never express approval unless you believe it, unless you actually genuinely feel that the individual has done something that is praiseworthy. Another key to approval is to be immediate. If somebody does something, give them the praise immediately afterwards. Praise delayed is usually praise that has no effect at all. If you would like to develop a habit in another person, praise continuously until the habit is developed. If you would like to maintain the habit, then praise intermittently afterwards. In other words, praise the person every second or third time they do it to maintain the habit in place. Another key to cooperative human relations is admiration. Abraham Lincoln said, everybody likes a compliment, and the two things that you can quite safely compliment people on are their traits or their possessions. People are very proud of their personal traits. Compliment people on their possessions, praising a person's children, praising a person's house, or praising a person's clothes, furniture in their house, or in their office will always be greeted well by the other person. It raises the other person's self-esteem and makes them far more receptive to working cooperatively with you. And finally, agreeability. Be agreeable. Be an agreeable person. Be the sort of person that people like to have around because you are not argumentative or difficult. And even if you disagree, ask yourself always, how important is this? And if it's not important, let it pass. One of the characteristics of people that we always enjoy is that they smile. They say thank you, they praise and approve our behaviors and actions, they admire our possessions, and they're agreeable and they're easy to get along with. Remember this, that in business and in industry and in all organizations in our society today, all work is done by teams. And your ability to work well on a team and your ability to build an effective team to get the job done is going to determine your success as much as any other single factor. So here are some keys to encourage teamwork. Number one, make sure everyone knows what you are trying to accomplish. Make sure everyone knows what you are trying to accomplish. Make it clear that everybody on the team knows what the goals or objectives of the team are. Make sure that everybody knows why you are trying to accomplish it. What is the reason? What is the purpose? Who will be affected and how much? People will go a long way to help you achieve the... What if they know the why? Make sure everyone knows exactly what they are expected to contribute individually. Number 4 is give ample praise and recognition for performance. The basic rule with regard to team building is to give lots of praise and recognition in public. Give criticism and constructive feedback in private. Number 5, personally accept 100% responsibility for anything that goes wrong. Take the blame and share the glory. Exceptional executives are always those who, if a person does not do the job, accept that it is their responsibility of having put the person in the job in the first place. Remember, people make mistakes, and it often happens that you will put a person in a job for which they are not suited. If that's the case, it is not the person's fault. It is the fault of the executive who put them in that position, and it is the responsibility of the executive to remove them. Number 6, never criticize, condemn, or complain. It lowers morale and robs people of self-esteem. Number 7, remember everything that you do that makes other people feel good about themselves, boosts your own self-esteem, and makes you a more dynamic, successful person. The real key to cooperative human relations is to treat everyone as though they were the most important person in the world, a $1 million customer. And as I said earlier, your ability to get along with others, your ability to function well on teams, your ability to work well in meetings, and to cooperate effectively with other human beings, more than anything else, determine the height to which you will rise in your field or industry.
Here's the definition of success and failure. Just make this note. Here's failure, a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Now, you can automatically assume, Mr. Owen, I say, I can understand that. A few errors in judgment repeated every day for 6 years. I'm with my father. I think I told the story the last time I was here. My father, 88 years old, he's never been ill, still hasn't retired. Not long ago, midnight, we're getting ready to go to bed. We've drilled a new well, got some extra water, got some more acres going. He's all excited at midnight. We're getting ready to go to bed. My father's eating what he calls his midnight snack, a little bite to eat before you go to bed. Don't have to go to bed hungry. And I'm watching him eat this midnight snack. Guess what he had? An apple, a few graham crackers, and a glass of grapefruit juice. I said to my father, so healthy. My mom taught us all those good health practices, taught me when I was growing up. Right? I'm an only child, I've never been ill. That's the big 50 some time ago. My 2 daughters, 32, 33, never been ill. My grandkids never been ill. I'm telling you, the legacy lingers on. As I watched my father have this midnight snack, suddenly it occurred to me, I know that's part of it. An apple a day. That's gotten to Dallas-Fort Worth, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Good question for this intelligent audience. What if that's true? You say, oh, well, Mr. Owen, if that's true, that would be easy to do. Then what's the problem? It's easy not to do. It's easy not to adopt it as your own personal philosophy. Or the guy next door says a Hershey bar a day. Say, oh no, you've been watching too much television. It is not Hershey bar. You've got to be smarter in philosophy than to fall for the Hershey bar a day when it's an apple a day. You've got to be smarter than that. And if you make that kind of an error in judgment every day for 6 years, I'm telling you, it'll accumulate into disaster. Sometimes in the first year you say, well, you know, I'm so healthy now. What difference is it going to make? You've got to be smarter than that. Just because disaster doesn't fall on us at the end of the first day doesn't mean disaster isn't coming. You've got to be so smart that you look down the road and say, will the errors in my present judgment or philosophy, what's that going to cost me in 1 year? 6 years? 1 month? 6 months? I'm telling you, the money cost and the health cost and the success cost is too gigantic. If you look down the road a little ways and say, are there errors in my current judgment? Like an apple versus a Hershey bar? Is that just a good illustration of some of the rest of my errors in judgment? If it is, that's where I found myself at age 25. I started working when I was 19. I met my teacher who helped turn my life around when I was 25. That's 6 years. At the end of the first 6 years of my economic life, I've got pennies in my pocket. I've got nothing in the bank. The creditors are calling saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. I'm embarrassed. I'm behind on my promises. I live in America. I'm a 25-year-old American male. I've got a nice family, every reason to do well, and I messed up. Now what's messed up? I used to think it was the community that was messed up, and the country was messed up, and the government was messed up. If those Democrats ever get in the White House, that'll really mess things up. If the Republicans stay in power, that'll really mess things up. The economy was messed up. Interest rates were messed up. I thought all this stuff was messed up. Then I found out that's not what was messed up. I was criticizing the only thing I had to work with. What was really messed up was my own personal philosophy, my own errors in judgment. And my own personal philosophy brought me, in 6 years, 2 pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, and trying to explain why I wasn't doing well living in America. A 25-year-old American male got a family, every reason to do well. Once I understood this, here's the formula for failure. Errors in judgment, being lax about developing your own personal philosophy, killing. It's called accumulated disaster. It doesn't matter whether it's your health or your bank account. A guy's got an empty bank account, probably has high cholesterol. Why? Over the last 6 years, he never paid attention to either one. And it doesn't matter whether it's a dollar, whether it's your money, or whether it's your cholesterol counts. All you've got to do is commit the errors. And just because disaster doesn't fall on you at the end of the first day that you don't eat an apple. You say, well, I didn't eat an apple today and tonight I'm not ill. Well, you've got to be brighter than that. Someday you've got to leave first grade. Reason we make those first grade desks so small, so they won't fit at age 25. I mean, right? You don't belong here anymore. Let me give you the secret to success, the formula for failure. A few errors in judgment repeated every day for 1 month starts the weakness, starts the disaster process. You can imagine what happens in 6 years and every other habit that you've got. If you'll start that process, eliminate the errors, and replace it with disciplines practiced, I'm telling you, you can start this process of life change immediately after today. You don't ever have to be the same again, only by choice. You don't have to walk out of here the same as you walked in today, only by choice. You can start a whole new process. And you say, well, Mr. Owen, is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Where else would you start but with an apple? You don't have to start with something staggering. What if you should be walking around the block for your good health and you don't? What'll that do in 6 years? I'm telling you, the word is disaster. You could and you should and you don't. Here's an even stronger word. You won't. I mean, nope. Might mean you're careless. Won't probably means you're stubborn, and either one is called disaster. Could, should, don't. I'm telling you. That's why at the end of 5 years, 6 years, I found myself with pennies in my pocket. Nothing in the bank. Creditors calling. Could, should, won't. Could, should, don't is called disaster. Now, how do you change all that? The next 6 years, I got rich. The next 6 years, I became a millionaire by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. How about that? You say, well, Mr. Owen, what happened? Well, strangely enough, during that second 6 years of my economic life, the government was about the same. I'm telling you, taxes were about the same. My negative relatives were nothing. I'm telling you, the economy was about the same, and prices were about the same, and everything else was about the same. Circumstances were about the same. Then how come I got rich? How come I totally changed my life? I was not the same. Somebody says, well, what did you go to work on to do all that? I started with my philosophy. I started amending my errors by doing some better thinking, changing my mind, and coming up with ideas that I didn't have before I met my teacher. And once that whole process started for me, I'm telling you, I changed my whole life within a 6-year period. I was never the same, and I've kept up that process all these years. One of the reasons why I'm here is to continue my craft. I don't want the day to come someday, somebody says, you should have heard Jim Rohn 10 years ago when he was really terrific. I want people to say, I heard him 10 years ago, but you should hear him now. I'm telling you, the man works on his craft. I'm telling you, the man's done some extra reading. I'm telling you, the man doesn't miss a trick. I'm telling you, he's worked hard on himself. That's why he's able to deliver like he does. The same thing can happen for you as a teenager. It can happen to you as a mother, as a father, as a business person, as a salesperson. Running a business doesn't matter, management, wherever you find yourself. This is the process called personal change. And what I say to start with is start with your own philosophy. Your philosophy is going to determine whether or not you go for the disciplines or continue the errors. That's called potential disaster. And everybody has it within their power. What was so happy for me to find out at age 25, Mr. Show said. Mr. Owen, you don't have to change country, but you do have to change velocity. And if you'll change philosophy, not country, you can turn around your income. You can turn around your bank account. You can turn around your skills. You can become capable, powerful, sophisticated, healthy, influential, all the other equities that you could possibly want out of your life using the only stuff there is and not trying to change any of this stuff. Appreciate all of this stuff with all of its ups and downs, with all of its mystery of why it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Don't challenge this. You don't have to ask for another planet. You don't have to ask for another country. Just ask for another book. Ask for another seminar. Ask for another idea. And you can start this whole process of personal life change. Now, I can spend the whole day on philosophy. That's where it is. If I could get you intrigued with that enough to study it, enough to ponder it, to where you'd pick up the commitment like I did. Say, hey, as simple as an apple a day, as simple as a walk around the block? Why not start right there? If you don't start there, where else are you going to start? Might as well start where it's easy and then go to the more complicated discipline. Because if you can't handle the complicated, the simple disciplines, how can you handle the complicated thoughts? Held in mind produce after their kind. What you think becomes your reality. Earl Nightingale in his audio program, The Strangest Secret, says that you become what you think about. Ralph Waldo Emerson summarized this idea more than 100 years ago. Dimension of your external life. If you want to be happy, you need to clearly define for yourself and create the mental equivalent or picture of exactly what happiness means to you. If you wish to enjoy health and long life or happy relationships or financial prosperity, you need to create in your mind an exact, detailed picture of what you desire, as a result of a whole series of other laws that I'll be discussing. This becomes the critical starting point that begins inevitably to lead you to the realization of your dreams and goals.
The fourth law of success is called the law of correspondence. This law has been talked about for perhaps 4,000 years, and it's one of the fundamental laws that explains human experience. It simply says that as within, so without. It says that your outer life will tend to be a mirror image of your inner life. Your external world will tend to correspond almost exactly to what is going on inside both your conscious and subconscious minds. There are four major areas where you see the law of correspondence working all the time. The first is simply in your attitude. Whatever your attitude is, often before you even say anything, people will reflect it back to you in the way they talk to you, in the way they talk to you and treat you. As within, so without. The second area where the law of correspondence is evident is in your relationships. Your relationships will almost perfectly mirror your attitude and your personality. If you're a good and happy person, you'll have good and happy relationships. As you become a more patient and tolerant and loving person, your relationships will reflect this almost immediately, very much as a mirror will do. The third area of correspondence that you see is in your health. Much of your health can be directly traced to specific attitudes that cause you to suffer from minor and major illnesses. The extensive work that's been done in the area of holistic medicine seems to suggest that there are corresponding attitudes of mind for most illnesses that you or I suffer from, the common cold and flu, all the way up to the most serious illnesses that are often life-threatening. Whenever you're anxious or upset or unhappy for any reason, for any period of time, your body will begin to reflect those feelings. The entire basis of psychosomatic medicine is the conclusion that your mind, psycho, makes your body, soma, sick. What your mind harbors, your body eventually expresses. The fourth application of the law of correspondence is that your external world of material accomplishment will exactly correspond to your internal world of preparation. The more knowledge and skill you gain that helps you to be more effective in your work, the more you will be paid. You can't hope to acquire or achieve anything more on the outside until you've acquired it or achieved it on the inside. The law of correspondence reigns supreme. The fifth law of success is the law of belief, which says that whatever you believe with emotion becomes your reality. You always have a tendency to act in a manner consistent with your innermost beliefs and convictions. Your beliefs, in fact, act like a filter or a screen that edits out incoming information and only allows into your conscious awareness the things that you've already decided are true about yourself and the world. William James of Harvard said, "Belief creates the actual fact." In the Bible, it says, "Whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." For example, if you absolutely believe that you are meant to be a great success in life and that no matter what happens, nothing can stop you from achieving the greatness that is yours, you'll act in a manner consistent with that belief, and you'll eventually make it come true. If you doubt your ability to be successful for any reason, this negative belief will be demonstrated in your tendency to hold yourself back. The most important part of the law of belief is the necessity for you to question your own self-limiting beliefs. These are the beliefs that act like the brakes on your potential. These are the nagging doubts and fears that people have about themselves and their abilities that cause them to sell themselves short. When you have self-limiting beliefs, you have a tendency to settle for far less than you may be capable of. Self-limiting beliefs revolve around your ability to lose weight or quit smoking or earn a certain amount of money or be attractive to members of the opposite sex or develop new abilities that are more conducive to your success and happiness. One of the most important steps you can take toward achieving great success is for you to question these self-limiting beliefs. You might even ask others who know you well, What self-limiting beliefs they seem to think that you have that may be holding you back. Remember, self-limiting beliefs are often used as excuses. A good way to test your self-limiting beliefs is to ask yourself whether anyone else with the limitations you perceive you have has nonetheless gone on to achieve success. You can also look at your own actions to decide what it is that you truly value. Remember, it's not what you say or hope or wish or intend that is a true expression of your value. You only truly believe what you do. Your actions do speak far more loudly than your words. For example, if you truly believe in the values of persistence and dedication, it'll be evident in the things that you do every single day. If you truly believe in the values of honesty and integrity and self-discipline, you'll demonstrate these qualities in your every behavior. In fact, you can tell what a person values by looking at what they did in the past when the pressure was on. It's only when they're forced to make a choice that you know what it is you really value. For example, when you have to choose between family and work, or between money and work, or between money and honesty, your true values come out. The wonderful and important thing about your values is that you can develop them in yourself by disciplining yourself to act consistent with them, even if you haven't yet made them a fixed part of your character. I'll explain this later in the program. The seventh law of success is the law of motivation, which says that everything you do is triggered by inner desires and urges and instincts, many of which may be at an unconscious level, and your attitudes and behaviors will be determined by your dominant motivations, by what you really want and need in life, not by what you think you want. This is an extension of the law of values, and it's very important for you to understand. There's a simple formula called the ABC formula of human motivation and human action. The ABC stands for antecedents, behavior, and consequences. The antecedents are the things that happen before the behavior. The behaviors are the things you do. The consequences are what happens as a result of your behavior. We know that psychologically only about 15% of your motivation comes from the antecedents, from what you read or learn or are told to do or not do. However, about 85% of your motivation comes from your expectations, what you think will happen. It's your beliefs about the consequences, about the future, that cause you to behave in a certain way. The clearer you are about the consequences of your actions, and the more intensely you desire to enjoy the consequences that your behaviors may lead to, the more motivated you'll be. This is why it's so important to have absolute clarity with regard to your goals in each area of your life in order for you to be motivated to perform at your very best. An important point with regard to the ABC formula is that your behaviors are not guaranteed to achieve the consequences that you desire, but every behavior or action that you engage in will generate a consequence of some kind. One of the most important parts of understanding motivation and behavior is to realize that both actions and inactions have consequences. What you do as well as what you fail to do will have a consequence in your future, and sometimes the consequences can be dramatic and long-lasting. A good exercise in success is for you to write out a description of the type of person that you'd like to be and the kind of life that you'd like to be living. The most powerful faculty that you'd like to be living, the most powerful faculty that you have is your ability to think, your ability to understand. The more accurately you can think about who you are and what you want to accomplish and how to accomplish it, the more effective and successful you will be. The eighth law of success is the law of subconscious activity, and it has several applications. The first part of this law is that whatever thought or idea mixed with emotion you hold in your conscious mind will be accepted as a command by your subconscious mind, will be accepted as a command by your subconscious mind. This means that whatever thought, idea, or goal you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have because your subconscious mind will go to work to organize all of your thoughts and actions to bring it into your reality. If you desire to earn or attain a certain amount of money and you think about it continually day and night, and you use every means possible to drive this desire or hope deep into your subconscious mind will begin committing more and more of its reserve capacity toward bringing that goal or desire into your life. The second part of the law of subconscious activity is that your subconscious mind, once you give it the proper commands, will trigger your reticular cortex and its function, the reticular activating system. Your reticular cortex is a small finger. like part of your brain that alerts you to events and circumstances around you that are consistent with your dominant desires or concerns. For example, if you decided that you wanted to buy a red sports car, this desire would signal to your reticular cortex that red sports cars are now of paramount importance to you. From that moment on, you would see red sports cars everywhere. Even a block away, you would become extremely alert and sensitive to red sports cars, as well as to the means of attaining one of them. If one of your goals is to achieve financial independence and you imbue this goal with intense desire, also controls your body language and your tone of voice. Professor Moravian of the University of California, Santa Barbara has concluded that when you communicate with others, fully 55% of the message you send is contained in your body language, 38% of the message you send is contained in your tone of voice, and only 7% of the message you send is contained in your tone of voice, and only 7% of the message is contained in the actual words that you use. And your body language and tone of voice are largely controlled by messages about yourself and your goals that you've sent to your subconscious mind as the result of the way you think and feel. For example, when you've had a success of any kind, you send a charge of emotional energy to your subconscious mind that tells it that you're a winner. For some time afterwards, you walk and talk and act and think like a winner. Your step will be brisker, your voice will be stronger, your eyes will be more focused, and your body language will signify this belief about yourself. Your subconscious mind will accept your predominant emotional thoughts and organize your entire body, voice, and tone to fit a pattern consistent with it. The ninth law of success is the law of expectations. It's often called the law of the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's one of the most powerful of all laws because of its simplicity and its predictability. This law simply says that whatever you expect with confidence will have a tendency to materialize in your life. You get not what you want, but what you expect with the greatest intensity. For this reason, an attitude of positive self-expectancy seems to go hand in hand with great success in every area of your life. The wonderful thing about the law of expectations is that you have the power to manufacture your own expectations. You can decide to expect only good things to happen to you. You can walk and talk and act as though you believe the entire world was conspiring to help you achieve your goals. You can become what W. Clement Stone is often referred to as an inverse paranoid. You can become convinced that the entire world is conspiring to do you good. The way that you apply the law of expectations is by constantly looking for the good in every person and every situation. When you have a temporary setback, you can look into the setback for the valuable lesson that it might contain. Instead of becoming upset, you can say to yourself something like, I believe in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life. This kind of affirmation causes you to affirmation you do with a more positive and open and optimistic attitude. The most powerful of all expectations are the expectations you have of yourself. You should approach everything you do with an attitude of calm, confident self-expectancy. You should expect to be successful more times than you're unsuccessful. Expect to win more times than you lose, and expect to eventually achieve your goals if you carry on long enough. The 10th law of success, which applies to many other areas of life, is called the law of concentration. It says that whatever you concentrate on and think about repeatedly with emotion tends to become more and more a part of your inner and outer life. Some of the most important work in psychology shows that if you dwell upon qualities that you wish to develop, like courage and sincerity and persistence, you tend to actually build those qualities brick by brick into your character and personality. The law of concentration goes hand in hand with the law of subconscious activity, and it largely explains the person that you are today. Whatever you've concentrated on in the past and are concentrating on in the present is having a major impact on your conduct and behavior. What you concentrate on largely determines the quality and quantity of the results that you get and the success that you enjoy. The 11th law of success is the law of habit. It says that virtually everything that you do is automatic and unthinking. You are largely a creature of habit. It says that from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you have a tendency to follow the path of least resistance and to do the things that you've become accustomed to doing in the past. You eat the same foods for breakfast, you brush your teeth with the same toothpaste, you take the same route to work, you greet people with the same words, you go to lunch at the same time, you work in the same way. Now, there's nothing wrong with establishing habits that enable you to simplify your life. In fact, your life becomes successful to the degree to which many of the things you once needed to concentrate on, such as driving your car, have become automatic and unthinking. When you make certain things habitual so they no longer require thought, your mind then becomes free to concentrate on other things that can be more helpful to you in achieving the things that you really want.
There are several parts of the law of habit, and the first of these is that good habits are hard to form but easy to live with. The second part is that bad habits are easy to form but hard to live with. It's one of the hardest of all things to change. Our bad habit probably leading you to failure. The way that you overcome bad habits is simply to override them by the development of new, more positive habits. For example, if you have a golf swing that's causing your ball to go into the rough, you can override that habitual swing by taking lessons and learning how to hit the ball differently. If you have a habit of getting up later than you should, you can override that habit by repeatedly getting up earlier until that new behavior becomes the habit that dominates your thinking and your actions. It's by practicing the law of concentration in conjunction with the law of habit and thinking continually about how you would be with a new habit or behavior. You drive this message into your subconscious mind, and you eventually begin to behave in a manner consistent with the new habits you wish to form. This brings us to the 12th law, one of the most important of all the laws of success, and that is the law of attraction. The law of attraction says that you are a living magnet and that you inevitably attract into your life the people, events, and circumstances that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. This is why we say that whatever you can hold in your mind on a continuing basis, you can have. It's whatever thought you hold clearly and mix with emotion. Begin setting up a force field of mental energy that begins drawing towards you the things that you need to achieve that goal. This law of attraction has been written about for hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's contained in the old folk sayings like attracts like, or like begets like, or you've perhaps heard birds of a feather flock together. My friend Mark Victor Hansen says that whatever you want wants you. These are all ways of saying that your mind is extremely powerful and that whatever you think, emotionalized, becomes a form of energy like a magnet that's attracting the events and circumstances you experience into your life. In music, the law of attraction is often referred to as the law of sympathetic resonance. It explains, for example, that if you have two pianos in a large room and you hit the key of C on one of the pianos and then walk across the room to the other piano, the C note or string on the second piano will be vibrating in perfect harmony or resonance with the SECS string on the first piano. One of the most common examples of this law is when you enter a room full of people and you almost invariably have a sympathetic resonance or attraction with someone else in the room. You'll have a tendency to gravitate toward a person with whom you are comfortable and compatible, and that person will have a tendency to gravitate towards you. It's very often two single people at a social gathering will have a level of sympathetic resonance that draws them toward each other and into conversation. It's by the same token, when you have a very clear goal or idea, you will tend to attract people to you and be attracted to people who have ideas and information and resources that can help you to realize that goal. Another illustration of the law of attraction is its opposite, which is the law of repulsion. When you begin to become a particular kind of person because of the way you change your thinking, you will find yourself attracted to people who are similar to you, and you will also find yourself repelling and being repelled by people who don't think the way you do. This law explains why positive people tend to associate with other positive people and why negative people tend to associate with other negative people and why neither group finds the other group of very much interest. You can begin to fill your life with the kind of people that you respect and admire by simply becoming the kind of person in your thoughts that will attract them to you. The 13th law of success is the law of choice, which says that you are always free to choose the content of your conscious mind, but in doing so, you are choosing every other part of your life. Your thoughts control your reality. And since no one else but you can think for you, the thoughts that you choose to harbor determine everything that happens in your life. The wonderful thing about the law of choice is that it says that you have complete freedom to think and therefore to be anything that you intensely desire. The choice is always up to you. The law of choice also says that you are where you are and what you are because you have chosen to be there. If you're not happy with where you are and what you are, it's up to you to choose to be and do something else. The 14th law of success is the law of optimism, which simply says that a positive mental attitude goes hand in hand with success and happiness in virtually every dimension of life. The quality of optimism is the quality that makes you into a cheerful and pleasant person, a person that other people like and want to be around and help. The most successful men and women tend to be very likable people. The more optimistic you are, the happier you'll be moment to moment, and the more things you'll be willing to attempt. The 15th law of success, the law of change, says simply that change is inevitable. The only constant we have in life is that of change. Everything is changing even as you listen to this tape. But the wonderful thing about the law of change is that nothing is fixed either. All progress requires change. And since change is happening in any case, you can be and have and do anything you want by simply harnessing the forces of change and taking advantage of it. The law of change also says that your life can only get better when you get better, but not until. It says that you can't remain the same and somehow improve. The law says that if you don't take advantage of change, you will end up being the victim of change. Things will happen over which he paid for his average lifestyle. And like most average people, he was going nowhere with his life. Then one day, something happened to him. Perhaps he read a book that woke him up, or listened to an audio program, or attended a motivational seminar. Whatever it was, he wasn't the same afterwards. He realized that he could choose to do and be something else. He applied the law of choice. By the law of change, he realized that his life could only improve if he began changing in a positive direction. Using the law of cause and effect, he made some decisions about what he wanted to accomplish and then began searching out the causes of the effects he desired. By the law of optimism, he was positive toward himself and its possibilities. He expected good things to happen, triggering the law of expectations. He went to work on his thinking, and he began to dwell by the law of concentration on his ideal lifestyle. By the law of subconscious activity, he began to walk and talk like the person he envisioned himself becoming. He also began noticing opportunities to advance himself that he hadn't seen before. As he changed his thinking, he triggered the law of mind and the law of mental equivalency, and he created a clear picture of his goals. By the law of correspondence, his outer world began to reflect his new, improved inner world. His beliefs about himself began to change, and by the law of attraction, people and resources began to appear to help him move toward his goal. As he concentrated on his desires, his values and motivations changed, and he began developing the kind of habits that lead to success. In no time at all, by bringing his life into alignment and harmony with the laws of success, he began moving forward at a rate that surprised even him, and so can you. The laws of success are based on the foundational principle that in order for you to succeed, you must first decide what success means to you. You can then begin to apply these laws to your definition of success to bring it more rapidly into your reality. Get off of Instagram and Snap and get off all these blogs. Get into something that can really, really move your life forward. Getting successful is not a magic trick. The difference between successful people and non-successful people is here. If you want to be successful, you have to change this. This has to change. It's not what makes it hard. It's your lack of belief that it can happen for you. So if you're at a place in your life and you aren't happy with it, you have to change some things. You have to make a conscious, interesting decision that you're going to change, and it's not dependent on anybody else. You get to decide if you're going to be rich, poor, mediocre, plentiful, happy, sad. It's really not important what the majority of people that are blogging are saying. As a matter of fact, bloggers are not relevant people. So when you spend so much time in the blog world, the Instagram world, the chat world, all of this, you're wasting valuable time. I was young and I had what you have, and you're the brightest group of young people that have come along in a long time. Man, millennials are absolutely brilliant because you all have technology. Oh God, Google. You can Google anything. You all have stuff at your fingertips that can make you great. But if you could combine your technology with your parents and your grandparents' work ethic, you could be rich. You could be rich, man, but you cannot erase the work ethic part. I hate it when I see young people wasting their time, wasting all this technology, just sitting around in this world that's been created for you, that everything is instant. You've got to understand that success. You can't Google success. You can't Google it, man. I've seen stuff hopefully you'll never see, and I've seen some things I hope one day you do see, but go Google exposure. It ain't gonna take you nowhere. I have a life of convenience now, but in order to get the life of convenience, you've got to have a very uncomfortable life. Stop trying to do everything the short way. Stop trying to figure out the easy way because it ain't gonna happen. You gotta get messed up sometimes. You gotta get dirty. You gotta get your feelings hurt. You gotta get disappointed. You gotta get told no. But at least then when I see somebody trying and I tell them no, I try to at least give them something else. Once you get this, y'all, you can change everything. Negativity, you can protect yourself from negativity, and that's what stops most people. For all seen, it's a real simple exercise to do. I do it every morning before I walk out the door, so I walk out as a positive. I get tired sometimes because I get mentally drained from my job at times, but to coach your mind from negativity, the way you can put a coating around your mind is with one simple: gratitude. Gratitude erases negativity. If you wake up in the morning and start having negative thoughts, I'm tripping, I just don't feel myself. Every time you feel In the middle of the day, if you feel yourself doing that, stop. Just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for, everything you already have. You can walk, that's a blessing. You woke up, that's another blessing. The fact that you can see, think, reason, that's another blessing. You can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It can change everything for you.